Oh. Sarvadharma sthapakatvam sarvadharma swarupakaha acharyanam mahacharyo Ramakrishnaya te namaha. O establisher of all faiths, embodiment of all the religions, the greatest teacher among all the teachers, O Sri Ramakrishna, my salutations to you. So Acharyanam Mahacharyo Sri Ramakrishna is taking us through all his spiritual teachings one by one. And not just the teachings as such, those complex and intricate teachings, he so beautifully makes them, simplifies them with the examples and the parables and the anecdotes and the stories that he tells for us to understand those spiritual teachings, to understand those teachings in much simpler language so that we can assimilate the content, the gist of those teachings and try to practice them on our path of spiritual practices. And Sri Ramakrishna had told Sri M that you need not go hither and thither, come here alone. Because all the sincere seekers of the truth, of the ultimate truth, they ultimately used to come to Sri Ramakrishna alone. Even Sri Keshav Chandra Sen and his Brahmo devotees, they used to come and sit at the feet of Sri Ramakrishna and partake of those nectarine teachings of Sri Ramakrishna. And while telling so, then Sri Ramakrishna told, had clarified the confusion that Sri M had in his mind, whether he was not able to focus on meditating on the formless aspect of the God, nor he was inclined to worship the clay images. And then Sri Ramakrishna had told him, don't consider them to be the clay images. Consider these images to be pervaded with the divine consciousness, instilled with the divine consciousness. And then you start worshipping the clay images also. Then you will realize the truth. And then Sri Ramakrishna had told him that whichever path you take, you must practice the spiritual disciplines sincerely. There is no point sitting in a room, outside a room, where there is a treasure lying hidden inside. By just saying that, okay, now I have got the key, I will open the lock, I have gone inside, I have taken the treasure. Simply saying it won't lead you to the treasure. You have to make an effort. You have to start the spiritual practices. Get into the room, open the door, get into the room, and then catch hold. Then find where is the treasure, and then catch hold of the treasure. But whichever path you choose, Sri Ramakrishna says that you must sincerely follow the path. And then he had given that example of Bahudakas and Kutichakas. That Bahudakas, after traveling to place after place, the religious places, then finally they get the realization that I find the place at one place only, and then they become Kutichakas and just establish themselves in one practice, in one place, and it leads them to their goal. So that was our previous teaching. And incidentally, in this particular session, again we find Sri Keshav Chandra Sen and the Brahmo devotees. They have come to Sri Ramakrishna and they want Sri Ramakrishna to accompany them to the steamer. They are going in a steamer on the Ganges, and Sri Ramakrishna is talking to them. They are so much keen to imbibe those words of Sri Ramakrishna, to partake of those nectarine words of Sri Ramakrishna's teachings. And true to be a Jagat Guru, Sri Ramakrishna, he doesn't waste any time in talking worldly matters. For Ramakrishna, there is no worldly talk at all. So Sri Ramakrishna straightway comes to the subject. And Sri Ramakrishna starts imparting his teaching. He says, you should remember that heart of the devotee is the abode of God. He dwells no doubt in all beings, but he especially manifests himself in the heart of a devotee. So that is how Sri Ramakrishna initiates this spiritual discussion with Sri Keshav Chandra Sen and other Brahmo devotees. And incidentally, Sri M is also present there, partaking these words. Sri Ramakrishna further says, he who is called Brahman by the jnanis is known as Atman by the yogis and as Bhagavan by the bhaktas. That same entity, the Vedantists, the jnanis, they call that as the Brahman, Satchidananda Brahman. The yogis, they call that as Atman, Paramatman. And the bhaktas, the devotees, they call that same entity as the Bhagavan. The same Brahmin, now here Sri Ramakrishna again gives an example from day-to-day walk of life. Now the Brahmin, he is performing several duties during the course of his living. So Sri Ramakrishna says, the same Brahmin is called priest when he is worshipping in the temple. The same Brahmin, he is called as cook when he is preparing the Nevedya, he is preparing the bhog, he is preparing the prasad for the deity. Same person is same. At one place he is priest, at other place he is called as cook. So jnani, sticking to the path of knowledge, always reasons about the reality, saying not this, not this, not this. Like he had given that example of the jnani climbing the staircase. Each step he says, this is not the roof, this is not the roof, this is not the roof. And then finally when he reaches the roof, he says, this is the roof. Reasoning in this way, the mind becomes steady. Then it disappears. Even the mind disappears. And then the aspirant goes into samadhi. The sadhaka then goes into, he attains the samadhi. This is the knowledge of Brahman. It is unwavering conviction of the jnani that Brahman alone is real and everything else is false. That is his firm conviction. Brahma Satya Jagat Mithya. Now he follows that path. Through that path he reaches the roof. Now the case of bhakta is totally different. Bhakta says that consciousness is there everywhere. Everything in this universe is pervaded by that ultimate consciousness, by the divine consciousness. They take the waking state also to be real. What the jnani, the Advaitan, what he calls as the state of dream, swapnavat, the devotee calls that state also to be real. He says for him everything is real. They don't think the world to be illusory like a dream. They say that the universe is the manifestation of God's power and glory. And they firmly believe, the bhaktas, that God has created all this. The sky, the stars, the moon, the mountains, the ocean, the main animals, trees. All these constitute His glory. The glory of their ultimate Bhagavan that the devotees call. And then the bhaktas firmly believe that He is within us, in our hearts. He is inside as well as outside. For the bhaktas, the Jagat is also Satya. Not just the Brahman is Satya. The most advanced devotees say that He Himself has become all this, the 24 cosmic principles, the universe, all the living beings. And then Sri Ramakrishna says, what is the condition of a devotee like? He wants to eat sugar and not become sugar. Becoming sugar is a jnani. Aham Brahmosmi. But the devotee doesn't want to call himself Aham Brahmosmi. He wants to taste the sweetness of that sugar. He wants to enjoy this creation of the Lord, which is manifesting His divinity, which is manifesting the splendor of the great. So that is Sri Ramakrishna differentiates the attitudes of the jnani and the bhakta. Do you know how a lover of God feels? His attitude is, oh God, you are the master, I am your servant. You are the mother, I am your child. Or again, he says, you are my father and mother, you are the whole and I am the part. He doesn't like to say, I am Brahman. The bhakta never says, I am Brahman. The bhakta falls in the category of Dvaita and Vishishta Dvaita. mode of philosophical thinking that I am different from the God. But God manifests through me and through all these surrounding me. God is pervading, God's consciousness is pervading all this creation. And He never says, I am Brahman. Or, as a Vishishtadvaiti, He will say, you are the whole, I am a part. Yes, I am proud to be part of that divine glory. But still, there is a difference. There is a difference between the ultimate divine principle and me, as I am a part of that glory. I am not that. So this is how Sri Ramakrishna, in this simple teaching, he has actually brought to clarity the different aspects of worshipping the ultimate principle, the Dvaita, Vishishtadvaita, and the Advaita. The Advaitin says, Aham Brahmosmi, that I am Brahman. Nothing else is true, only Brahman is true. The Vishishtadvaiti says, Brahman is the whole, but I am part of that whole. I am still a bit separate from that whole. I am not that whole. And the Dvaiti says, you are the master, I am your servant. You are the mother, I am your child. Then Sri Ramakrishna says, the yogi seeks to realize the Paramatman, the Supreme Self. His ideal is the union of embodied soul and the Supreme Soul. That is the ultimate goal of the yogi, to bring that unity. That is the yoga, to bring about that union of the embodied soul, the Jivatman and the Paramatman. The Jivatman is different from the Paramatman in the eyes of yogi. The Advaitin, he says there is no Jivatman at all, everything is false. He negates everything. But the yogi says his ultimate aim is to bring a union between the Jivatman and the Paramatman, the embodied soul and the Supreme. He withdraws his mind from the sense objects and tries to concentrate it on the Paramatman. The yogi, in his efforts to reach that ultimate goal, he will take away the association of the senses with the sense objects. He will cut off. He will cut off that the complexity, the complex formation of the senses and the sense objects, and he will focus only on the Paramatman. Therefore, during the initial stages of this his spiritual practices, Sri Ramakrishna says he retires into solitude and undivided attention practices meditation in a fixed posture. But Sri Ramakrishna says, but the reality is one and the same. Either way you proceed as a bhakta, you proceed as yogi, you proceed as a jnani, you all reach the same goal. So there are these three people, a bhakta, a yogi, and a jnani. They are traveling their own paths. And the wonder of wonders, at the end of the path, all these three, they meet together. Oh, Bhakta says, I am also here. Yogi says, I am also here. The Jnani says, oh my God, we are all here together. We have all traversed the different paths, but all these different paths have taken us to the same destination, to the ultimate Brahman, which is our ultimate reality. So that is Sri Ramakrishna's teaching for the day. Om Namah Shri Bhagavate Ramakrishnaya. Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Jai Thakur, Jai Ma, Jai Swami.